Today we're going to be having a conversation with your friend Andy, my friend Andy, our friend Andy, and we're really excited about that. For anybody that's watching the replay, if you have questions, you can go ahead and throw them down below in the comments. If you're watching live, we'll try to get to those live, but at the end, we will give you guys a couple different links if you want to check out Andy's stuff, if you want to check out our stuff. We do have a free network for people that are interested in getting involved. But so guys, we have been following and kind of watching your friend Andy on YouTube for a while, very much in alignment with 1971 and what we stand for, very much in alignment with ethics, very much in alignment with the mindset behind being an entrepreneur, how we connect that with, DeFi and crypto and this alternative world. So Andy, we're excited to have you, man. How are you today?
Thank you for having me on. Excited to chat about all those things.
All things. Well, Andy, I've been following your story for a while, kind of watching what you've been doing and kind of getting kind of bits and pieces. But for anybody that maybe hasn't talked to you or hasn't followed you in the past, what was Andy doing before, crypto and DeFi and all of the insanity?
So crypto has kind of been an off and on again long-term thing. So I got seriously into it in some point in 2017, and I've been pretty deep in that rabbit hole since then. But I first dipped my toes into the world of crypto in like 2014, tried to mine Litecoin, built a Litecoin mining rig and bought some Bitcoin, did some stuff like that. But my first exposure was back in 2012 or 2013 when I had friends in like enthusiast forums telling me they were making these digital dollars with their computers and you could sell them online and stuff. And I just thought it sounded so stupid. So I just ignored it and to my detriment. But before all the crypto stuff, I've been kind of a lifelong entrepreneur. I did get briefly deviated from that path. I kind of got the idea that I needed to go to school and get a good job and do the normal thing, which is totally fine for a lot of people. It just isn't what I'm supposed to be doing or was supposed to be doing. And just took me a little while to realize that, and then broke myself free of that. Again, went back into the entrepreneur world and been working for myself again for now over a decade, and started the YouTube channel. The current one, I've had a couple, started this current one in 2020 in June. So it just passed 3 years of the Your Friend Andy YouTube channel, which has been a fun ride. And here I am.
Wow. It's funny. So we actually have pretty similar stories. Like I grew up in an entrepreneur family. Mom and dad had businesses. Some were really good, some were not so good. But my entire childhood growing up, I was kind of involved in that. Went overseas for a little bit, came back, joined a couple of their businesses, bought a couple businesses with them. And I have no idea why, but I decided, probably similar to you, like, hey, I need to go out and get a job. I have no idea. Like literally that was 12 years ago. I have no idea why I did that. I'm glad I did it, but it reminded me of why I think a lot of entrepreneurs do what they do and why so many of them say, I'll never go back to a corporate job. So it's actually kind of funny that you say that.
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, must have been a interesting and fun experience. I mean, though you did deviate from it to have that kind of parental background and stuff. I can tell you where the root of mine was. It was my parents and stuff. Like they did not do the entrepreneur thing. They were my dad, did 40 years at his job. Great job, provided for us and all that stuff. But that's definitely where I got that kind of like, stay in your lane kind of thing.
Sure.
And then had to kind of figure it out on my own. But that's cool. That's a cool. Well, you have any kids?
I do.
Okay. Well, you get to do the whole entrepreneur thing for them too. That'll be fun, I bet.
They we're going to put them to work, that's for sure. That's for
Very
sure.
good.
So I'm curious because it sounds like you've done a bunch of different stuff kind of throughout the years. I'm curious, like what was so appealing about maybe like the alternative world versus like traditional, like I do real estate, so versus like something really traditional like real estate or anything like in that avenue. Like what was appealing to you about the digital and the alternative stuff?
I mean, it wasn't that it was alternative. It just happened to be one where my interests went at the time. Again, I've kind of been like a lifelong entrepreneur. I started my first business in elementary school, and then my second one in like junior high. And I had businesses in high school, and even did stuff like side hustles and things in college. But they've all been like very different things. And then, I did the whole regular job thing, and then I kind of had that desire to do my own thing again. So I started a wedding photography business. I had a fun time like doing creative stuff on the side. I started that while I was working as a creative director at a software startup. And then I spent all my free time we were in a newer building. And so we had like an unfinished section. All my lunch breaks, I go to the unfinished section, sit in an unfinished conference room on the floor with my lunch. And I'd be calling people, trying to get clients and stuff. For whatever reason, I had, just wanted to not be doing that thing. So I just saw that was an opportunity. And so I chased it, and it turned to be a very successful opportunity. Been doing that for the past 10 years. And then while I was doing that, had, creative outlet, make videos and stuff. I started my first YouTube channel in 2015, and that one is actually even bigger than my current one, and it got way more views, like 80+ million views and stuff. It just wasn't very lucrative, but it proved the model. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I want to maybe do some more of this, but maybe I'll pick a more lucrative niche. And I already had kind of this this budding love for finance and investing and stuff. I hadn't quite jumped into the full love of crypto when I started my financial journey, but I was building up personal finance skills and a love for all this stuff. And I got my finances in order and started investing. And then crypto comes along. I kind of dive into that and get kind of hooked. And then 2020 rolls around and I have suddenly a little bit more free time. And so I decided to venture into the world of YouTube again. YouTube and Twitter are the two main places where I share stuff. And checked a lot of the boxes. I love creating things. I like all the camera stuff and all that fun. I like the storytelling. I like to write my scripts and plan everything meticulously out. And I was able to wrap that up in my also love for investing in money and stuff. And that turns out to be quite the lucrative combination on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, like people get a lot of value out of your show because of that. So that's awesome, man. So you had multiple things. Again, you had multiple things going on, but the theme that I'm seeing is, number one, like you had a love for finance and for like the business side of it, which a lot of people don't have, I don't think, in crypto. So you had a little bit of a background and you had a little bit of experience with your previous job and like the love for creating. I see more people nowadays that are like, I'm just trying to make a quick buck, and they never really last. So I mean, sure, you can make decent money if you know what you're doing, and if you've invested in the right mindset and strategies and tactics, you can make money. But I don't see those people lasting very long. Do you?
No, certainly not. But I think that's like you have to be that person. That's an essential step. I mean, when I first got into crypto, I was like, oh, make a quick buck. And I did enjoy very much the 2017 bull run for Bitcoin and into 2018, the altcoin fantasy world we all lived in shortly thereafter. And then it all just came tumbling back to earth. And that's where, a lot of people did leave the space. A lot of people on YouTube who was watching their videos stopped making videos. A lot of people who were just retail investors and invested decided it was all a big scam, and they sold their stuff at a loss. So they just forgot about it and they moved on and wrote it all off. But those of us who at that time said, okay, that was a tough lesson. I lost a lot of money, chased a lot of things. I learned exactly what the true meaning of FOMO is, stuff like that. But there's certainly something here, I think, in the longer term. Can I like hunker down and figure it out? And so that's what I've been doing. And so far, it's been quite the success. But that is certainly a rarer trait. There are fewer of those types of people out there.
I think it takes a pretty unique person to kind of get their butt whooped and then keep on going. Because as we both know, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can make money. You can make money doing literally anything in 2023. So I do think it takes a special personality to say, look, man, I've lost north of 100K, but I'm still here because I think I see what a lot of other people have seen is like, man, there is a greater opportunity, and the technology and like the innovation side of it isn't going anywhere. There's something to be said for that. So like when I got involved, Andy, it was like the baked beans and like that was the phase that I jumped into. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I didn't actually get down in the dirty of the beans stuff, but I do remember the baked beans, and there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff happening at that point. Yep.
It was like beans, like Scene's Kitchen, and like there was a slew of them. That was kind of like my foray into this, and coming from like a real estate background, I was like, oh, I'll put $5,000 here and $5,000 here and $5,000 here. It was like a week later that phase of crypto was completely done with, and I was like, that was a fun lesson to learn. And then there was, I mean, you know the stories, like there's been so many changes and so many adaptations in this space that it's been difficult to stay in it at times, but the greater picture and the greater development that's happening, I think it's what's doing it for most people.
I mean, I think people who stick around long enough to see past all that kind of flash in a pan stuff do find some things that they are actually attracted to and think have some real potential, and maybe even hopefully have some like longer term multi-year like staying power. for sure.
100%. You mentioned, kind of starting with some different mining stuff. What's kind of your progression been over the past couple of years since you said 2020, correct? Primarily.
When I started the channel?
Yeah. What's that progression look like for you? So you started with mining. What came after that, or do you still do that?
Well, I did my first mining in 2014. I ran that for a while. I built a Litecoin mining rig and a milk crate, which was the kind of the thing to do at the time. There weren't fancy like frames and things for all these. It was very, very early days of all that. And then I go to work, and I'd work a 12-hour startup day, and I would be exhausted. And I come home and I find out, oh, the mining rig like powered off or had a fault, and I have to like restart it and troubleshoot it and log back into Linux and figure this whole thing out. And it was just this huge hassle. So sold it all on eBay like a couple weeks later for a slight loss and just wrote that off. But then 2017 happened, all that craze. 2018 happened, and I'm still like diving in, but figuring things out, watching it all crash. And as it's all crashing, that's when I got into mining seriously. Started building GPU mining rigs. Like Claire says in the chat, I found Flux, which is one of my top positions in my portfolio. At the time, it's called Zellcash, but they've since rebranded. I found that as one of the many things that I kind of speculatively mined. Most of my entire crypto mining history has been speculative mining, spec mining. I still do a lot of that. I've made lots and lots of money doing that. I've had lots of wins, and for every win I have probably 5 to 10 fails, just outright, just wasted time. But the wins, when you do find them, those unicorns, they do far outstrip the losses. But yeah, so started with some just basic build my own GPU mining rigs to where I am today. Over the past couple of years, I've just been investing, and now I run a bunch of Bitcoin mining machines that are hosted in another state because they're just so powerful and energy intensive and heat intensive and all that. So I can't have them at my house, but I still have a bunch of GPU mining rigs. I have a bunch of mini ASICs. I have other mining things here at the house. And yeah, so it's, lots and lots of mining revenue, but then I combine that with, my entire crypto passive income category. That umbrella is probably 30 plus sources. Some of those are mining things. Some of those are running crypto utility nodes. Some of those are, one of my fiddle leaf just fell off in the middle of that. Staking, a couple different just crypto passive income projects where they have, it's either revenue share or trading bots or whatever. So that has now progressed to where it's an entire category of my overall cash flow, crypto passive income. But that in and of itself is, again, 20 to 30 separate individual sources.
Yeah, it seems like for a lot of people, myself included, I don't have quite that many. I'm more like 12, but having like a decent array of options, I think has been really, really big. I want to go back to the mining stuff because that's something that I've never done, and I think very few people in my audience are probably doing it. But can you give us like 10,000 foot view? Like, what do you mean by mining? Like, I obviously understand like the concept, but for people that don't understand, like, what is it? How are you making money? All of that.
Yeah, so crypto mining is definitely for the more die-hard crypto individuals who are going to be more on the geeky side, who are really in the weeds, because it is not an easy undertaking. There are easier ways to get access to it, but overall, you got to know a little bit of what you're in to jump into it. But at the very high level, crypto mining is, there are certain blockchains out there. Bitcoin is namely not only the biggest one, but the most popular of them, that are called proof of work, which means there is work required to make that chain go forward. And that work that's required is done by computers. Now, Bitcoin uses very high-powered, specialized computers, but you can just, once upon a time, you could use your home computer to mine Bitcoin. And all it's doing is your CPU or your graphics card in your computer is doing some computations to take part in a lottery. And if your computer happens to hit the right numbers at the right time and win that lottery, you get a reward. You're minting new coins on the blockchain. So every day, all these Bitcoin computers around the world, it's arguably the most powerful supercomputer on the planet right now, because there's so many of these machines and they do so many calculations per second. They're all doing these complex calculations and stuff, trying to hit this lottery. And when a certain number of them solve a block in the blockchain, there's a reward given out, and that's when new Bitcoin hits the market. And it's 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And that gets dispersed to all the machines that hit that thing. But essentially, it's just compute power to make the chain work, and there is a reward mechanism associated with that. And then you get down to the nitty gritty, you also can make money from just a transaction, sending Bitcoin to one person to the other. You pay a transaction fee. Well, that transaction fee goes to the miners, and there's a whole bunch of other ins and outs of it aside from that.
It makes the real estate stuff that I do seem very simple.
It's complicated for
I mean,
sure, but there are, yeah.
I mean, like I've seen, Andy, I've seen like machines that, you know, you just buy on Amazon, and like people have talked about like ones that you put in your car. Like there's a lot of, it seems like there's a lot of different ways to do it, but it sounds like very few people are doing it probably well. Is that safe to say?
Yes. And there's also just so much nuance to it. So as someone who is in real estate, I mean, how many properties do you have?
A lot. Yeah. 100 plus.
Okay. So with 100 plus properties, you have probably an incredible opportunity to then drop in some like low power, kind of geographic based miners that aren't like the Bitcoin miners, but for other crypto projects out there where you need that separation of geography, and you could then monetize all those beyond what you're currently doing with rent or Airbnb or whatever things you're doing with that. Same with car. People who have Turo, for example, a cool opportunity is you put in one of these little car miners. Now, is it really like a miner, like a Bitcoin miner? No, they're not doing crazy calculations, but it's mining some form of data, sharing it with the project, and you are being incentivized by sharing that data. So there's ones associated with geography. There's ones associated with radio waves that are low power. There's ones associated with cell phone coverage. There's ones associated with airplane traffic, with car driving mileage, all that type of stuff. There's a million projects out there all doing various different things, and a lot of them have an aspect to them like that where you can start monetizing other parts of your life, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, so how does somebody pick like a network or a project if they wanted to start doing any of that? Just a lot of research, or is there a secret to it?
Yeah, research. I mean, the secrets are you have to just watch a lot of things, watch a lot of YouTube videos, surf around Twitter and see what people are mentioning, or get into places where that information is distilled. I'm sure you do that I don't know all that much about what you have going on in your community, but I have a community, and that's where I take a lot of stuff I research. I distill it down into deep dives and income strategies and stuff like that. I give a breakdown of the ones I'm looking at, and I put it out. And there's lots of other people who are doing things like that, or people who just, if you find the right ones, who share that in threads on Twitter, or whose videos are specific to crypto passive income and share strategies. So it does start with a little bit of looking, but maybe if you look in the right places, you can find people who will go out there and do a lot of the legwork for you, and then distill it down into more manageable bite size, maybe even slightly vetted chunks.
Yeah, absolutely. We do things that are similar, but really not in that sector or not in that space. Our stuff is very, very specific on how do we blend like digital and physical, and kind of create the best of both worlds. So I've been running a real estate mastermind for almost a decade. And a lot of those people are interested in the alternative stuff, and a lot of the alternative people are looking for a safe place to put their money, something that's sustainable and has been around for a while. So we kind of focus on that quite a bit, but I've known a lot of people that have done the mining. It's just, I've never done it, but how you're describing it sounds like it could be a really good fit for some people, for sure.
Sure, yeah. Well, and also if you like that real world blend with the digital, and you're so deep into the world of real estate, you've already taken a look at a lot of these, but one project I'm a big fan of is called Block Square, but they're one of many who are fractionalizing real estate and doing it on the blockchain and stuff. And that one actually has a staking mechanism with their tokens and stuff, so you can make money there, and also once you start investing in the properties through it. But yeah, there's lots of really cool blends of the two worlds for sure.
I think it's going to be, I hate to say because it sounds so cliche, but I think I think the world is moving towards that, where a lot more is going to be blended. And I think the people that succeed and the people that are actually winning or are going to be winning are people that understand at least a little bit about both worlds. I'm not an expert by any means on the digital side, but like I know enough about it where creating a good income, I would even call it passive income, some of the projects that we're invested in, and the people on the physical side, they can't fathom it. So I'm sure you know this, but like people invest for 8-9% a year in real estate, and they're very, very happy about that. We see that, I mean, to be bold, we see that a month, it used to be where not too long ago, people were making a couple percent a day. So it's completely different worlds. But I think people that are leaning that direction and going to be investing in that style, I think are going to probably be, I think it's going to be the new generation.
Well, yeah,
So,
I spent my past 5 years getting into this stuff, and then having people tell me that it's not real, or it doesn't make sense, or it seems like it's a scam, or this and that. They just don't touch it. So yeah, there's a huge separation. Last crypto bull run, 2020 into 2021 into 2022, the height of it, there was like 330 million wallets active worldwide, 8 billion people on the planet. So it's like it felt big, and it felt important, and it felt like a lot was going on, but it was still just it's just so early. People think it's too late. People think, all that stuff, but it's just like no one knows about it. No one's using it. And people just hear like Bitcoin or crypto. And it's this nebulous, vague entity off to the side that they don't understand and don't really know what it is or what it does or anything like that. So yeah, still very, very early. And it's going to be exciting to see those two things finally blend a little bit.
100%, man. And for anybody that's watching live, Claire did put a couple of the links to some of the projects that, Andy, you don't own all of them, right? Or do you own all of them, like Sleep Money Club and those ones?
Sleep Money Club is my personal private community
Okay.
that I started with my friend Decade Investor Colin. He has another YouTube channel and Twitter following. So we combined and created that. That's our private communities for our Twitter and YouTube followings. But Blocksquare, no, that's just a project. I'm not associated with it in any capacity. I just invest in it and I stake with it. I like it.
Perfect. Yeah, Claire's blowing up the chat with all of the goodies.
Love it.
I like it. So Andy, I want to go back just briefly to, you were talking about kind of your portfolio or more of like the passive side. What kind of projects do you like? I know everyone's got their own flavor and everyone has their own, like their little niches that they enjoy. Like what gets you excited, or what kind of projects are you looking for where you said, yeah, like I'll invest X amount of dollars into it?
Well, I love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is my number one. I can't see that changing anytime soon. And honestly, while I do have a lot of cryptocurrencies in my portfolio, a lot of projects, a lot of crypto companies, and I do believe that many of them or some of them will last for the next couple of years, or maybe even 5 to 10 years, or maybe, they're here to stay. I'm hopeful for those things. But at the end of the day, basically everything I'm into is just a means to an end, and that end is for me to have more Bitcoin, because that's the only one I truly believe is going to be around in 50 years. I hope I'm right that on a couple other ones, and they're here as well, because that would be amazing. But that's the only one I have true conviction deep down inside that's going to be here in many, many decades from now. But there are lots of other ones that I do at least like in the shorter term, in the shorter couple year time frame, and they range in a whole bunch of things, anywhere from a newer crop of AI type related projects, again, fractionalized real world assets like real estate, or fractionalizing other kind of things, making it more accessible to more people, and having a delivery mechanism for the returns or dividends or whatever, which is really cool. And NFTs can facilitate that. But honestly, a lot of my portfolio is very speculative. A lot of it is micro or like tiny market cap projects that if they're more likely to go zero, but if they don't go to zero, they're probably going to do like a 1000x. And I operate like a venture capitalist. I throw a few thousand here, a few thousand there. I just do that 10, 20 different places, and I want one, or if I'm real lucky and I do a good job, maybe 2 beautiful unicorns out of that. And I've had a pretty good track record of finding those, and it's been a fun kind of a journey so far. But that's like the super high level, and they vary very much in how they differ when it comes to actual niches or sectors that they kind of follow. But it's a broad spectrum.
So what I love about what you said was, essentially you were talking about like a macro belief, and your macro belief is Bitcoin. You believe that 50 years, etc. I think there's a lot of people like that, but I think no matter who you are, if you're gonna be investing in this space, like you need to determine and be honest about what is your actual macro belief. So if it's Bitcoin, you should be focusing on how do you get more of that. A lot of people are investing for US dollar. They're investing in crypto for US dollar. Like if that's the case, like just say that, that is your macro belief, is the US dollar. I tend to lean more on like the physical asset side, and I use like my micro beliefs in different cryptos and like digital stuff to kind of bolster that. But you just have to know. And I think so many people, they don't have a North Star, they don't have a macro belief. So they kind of just throw money at everything, hoping, I don't know, maybe I'll be successful, maybe I won't. So it's important to know what you believe in, and like what's your macro and what's your micro. So you agree with that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, macro belief for me with crypto is Bitcoin will become a world reserve currency or world reserve asset. And as many of the world's fiat currencies fail or get inflated to death, there will need to be some kind of hard money as a backing. And I don't see that as gold. I see that as the digital version of gold, which is Bitcoin. So in my investing thesis for crypto, that's kind of my North Star. That's kind of where all my decisions kind of point to. But certainly I have lots of micro versions of that I see across different sectors and different plays that could also have bigger macroeconomic kind of repercussions later on, decades from now. But also, I'm not so into this fully that I don't also protect myself a bit, in that, when I have taken profits and stuff, I I want more and more Bitcoin, but I also will put US dollars in my account and my bank account. I will then buy broad market cheap index funds, S&P 500 index funds. I don't do real estate personally. I mean, maybe in the future, but I do believe in putting my eggs in more than one single basket for sure, across a whole bunch of things. I just happen to have the greatest conviction as far as asymmetric bets go in Bitcoin and larger space of crypto.
I love it. I think that's awesome, man. It's funny. I talked a little bit about like having a macro belief in the US dollar. I think that for most people that's getting harder and harder. And if they don't believe that, I think they're probably not looking very hard. Just recently with like the banks and stuff going on, I don't know how people can believe in the US dollar more than they can something like Bitcoin when you just like look at the track records and with inflation, like the entire thing and what's going on with the banks, how they lend money, like it's terrifying. And it's a little bit, I always use this analogy, it's a little bit like learning how like a hot dog is made. Once you've like seen it, you're like, I'm not that interested in that anymore. So it's interesting you say that. But then the other thing that you were talking about was digital gold and versus like, real gold. So we do a little bit of both in the fact that when all of the banks started collapsing, I said, I do not trust Huntington, Wells Fargo, Chase. I don't trust any of them because I literally have no control over that. That is probably most people's argument for Bitcoin is you do have control over it. But we actually used physical gold to build out an entire banking system. So we buy gold every single month. We relend that. There's a margin that we can relend ourselves back and we use that to invest. But it's just this flywheel that just keeps on spinning and getting faster and faster and faster. And for a lot of people in our community, it took the reliance off of a centralized bank, and it kind of gave them a new sense of freedom. And I know that a lot of people do that with Bitcoin as well, because you can borrow against your Bitcoin. Am I correct?
Yep.
So very similar. Where I mean, guys, you could do the same thing with Bitcoin. You could do the same thing with gold. I'm sure there's other assets as well. To get that reliance away from centralized bank, assuming that isn't your macro belief. So it's a wild world. It really is. It's a wild world where I think it's changing quickly. I think people's perceptions are way different than they were before COVID. I think people are a little bit more, not quite, but I think people are a little bit more educated right now than they were, 2019, 2018. So what do you,
I hope so, for sure.
A lot has happened, man. Like you certainly expect them to. What are you excited about right now? Like what's got you excited in this space? I mean, I know that there's a lot of projects and stuff that's going haywire, but what's got you excited?
I mean, I've been doubling down lately on what's been working for me over the past couple of years. I've been purchasing more mining equipment lately. I've been doubling down on some of that, expanding, and crypto utility nodes, for example, have been kind of the backbone of my crypto passive income strategy. Doubling down on that, jumping on more things there that look promising. So it's not much new, I would say, other than maybe some new plays, new projects, or new spec mining decisions. But I will say I do have kind of a renewed excitement for a lot of those things in the past 3 or 4 months, whereas maybe 9 months ago, I've done the crypto bear market once before, where I had significant investments and significant plays and stuff where I sat through the crypto winter. And this one I don't feel like has been as rough, but it's not terribly exciting. People lose interest. People stop watching the videos as much. That they are quieter in the Discord and stuff. It's like people just kind of retract and go away. There's less chatter. There's less excitement. There's less actually being built and deployed during these times. So it's just hard to get really excited about certain things when it seems like nothing is happening. But I have just kept kind of kicking the ball forward downfield. But I will say it has heated up a little bit in the past couple months, which is exciting, and that's led me to just want to like jump back into a few various things that maybe I just had a little bit more on autopilot. Now I'm a bit more active in.
So I mean, sometimes that's a really good indication that it's time to buy. So with real estate, we see that all the time. I mean, like you look at like the 2007, 2008 stuff. The people that made the most amount of money during that time are people that could weather the storm. And when all hell broke loose, like they were in a position to buy. I would assume that the bear market is very similar, where it's getting quiet. Not everybody's talking about it. The excitement's certainly down. We've got projects that are collapsing. We've got the SEC going haywire. It's just, I could see how that would be a good opportunity for somebody that's kind of set themselves up for that to take advantage of it. So do you see people doing that quite a bit right now, or do you think it's not quite time yet?
I see people who are savvy doing seeing that right now. I see a
Yeah.
lot of people who are still scared and think things will go lower, which is not an unfounded fear because now, do I think we're going back down to $15,000 Bitcoin, anything like that? Probably not, but it could still happen. So, buying Bitcoin right now feels okay to me. And buying a lot of different altcoins and stuff is an interesting proposition. I certainly have been doing it. Now, altcoins are a little dicier because even though things look like they're at the bottom, or they look like they're sideways, or they're flat, an altcoin you buy into that's 92% down from its all-time high could still do another 90% drop on its coin or token price. So, there's still risks, and I understand why there's trepidation, but I am seeing savvy people who seem to be jumping back into things now, which is an encouraging sign. We're also less than a year out from the next Bitcoin halving, which maybe a lot of your viewers don't know what that is, but it's a big event in Bitcoin when the actual rewards that are created every single day get cut in half, and it typically precedes quite a large supply shock in the markets for Bitcoin. Now, we are in a very different, when we talk again macroeconomic climate than we were last crypto bull run. We were in last crypto bear market. Last bear market for crypto was a bull run for the stock market still. So the world is different. We've had just an incredible, unprecedented amount of inflation in the past 3 years. Rates are super high. All things are happening. People's credit card debt is higher than it's ever been before. Retail and consumer level debt is like the highest it's never been this high. And there's still job insecurity and all kinds of things. So it's a very different world as we go into this next Bitcoin halving, which normally is one of the first kind of stepping stones before we go into a new crypto bull market. But I'm still pretty optimistic about things looking very good for Bitcoin and crypto. Maybe not immediately after that happens, but in the next year or two. And some savvy people seem to be making moves. I'm trying to make some moves right now. I'm just every single month steady, just checking up my list of crypto projects or opportunities I see, buying into a couple of ones I see the most promise in. The next month, reassessing what are the top 3 or 4 that I want to either double down on, add more to, or new ones I want to venture into. And I think that's smart right now.
I think that's very smart right now. Yeah, I mean, I think people that are looking at it and thinking about it differently are normally the ones that come out on top for sure. Andy, where can people learn more about like your community and getting involved in what you do?
So easiest thing to do is hop on YouTube and type in your friend Andy and you'll find me. And you can do the same on Twitter. Find me. That's the 2 places I talk the most and have the largest followings. Either one of those places will also get you a link to my newsletter. I do a weekly newsletter called Passive Bites, and it's just all about my various passive things I'm looking into in a given month time frame or so. And then of course you can go to zzzmoneyclub.com. Sleep Money Club is what we call it. That is my again private community. It's a paid community. You can't get in for free, fortunately. So yeah, if you want free content, all those other places are awesome places to start. And if you like what I have to say, well then maybe you want to dive in deeper with that. But those are probably the top couple places to find my content and me talking about stuff.
Yeah, guys, I highly recommend that you check out both Andy's free and paid stuff. I'm just kind of wrapping up here on my end for our community. Guys, make sure you check out the community. We do have both a free and a paid community, but we are doing these interviews with people every single week. There's a lot of opportunity to learn from people like Andy and other guys that are in the industry that are doing cool stuff. It's fun to hear the story about, why they did it, how they got into it, some of their advice and tips and tricks and all of that. So check it out. Our stuff is on our website. If you go to thekingdomrealestate.com, you can find it there. We also have the 1971mastermind.com. I'll throw links down below, but Andy, I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your Friday to jump on here. We've never met in person, so I truly do appreciate your time and you being willing to come and talk to me in our community. Yeah, man, just can't thank you enough.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's cool to meet you. Thanks to Claire for kind of setting this up. And she reached out, and anybody she vouches for, I'm like, they must be a pretty great person or resource. So yeah, happy for the connection.
Claire rocks. Plain and simple. Claire rocks.
Amen.
Perfect. Well, Andy, enjoy your weekend. I was really hoping we could see you in October. It sounds like you've got a vacation of something planned, but we'll catch up with you at some point. We have just a gigantic office over here in Canton, Ohio, where we run multiple companies out of, and we're doing a couple different events that are coming up. So at some point we'll connect and see if we can't twist your arm and get you to come over here and share a little bit of your information, a little bit of information for everybody.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it.
I love it, man. All right, buddy. I've got to walk all the way over there because my camera guy is gone. So I got to walk all the way over there. Like I said, enjoy your weekend, and we'll reach out soon, okay?